Right, hello everyone. This is my second video now. I'm just going to discuss my thoughts about the markets coming up next week, what I'm going to keep my eye on, and places where I'll be looking to engage if the price comes into what I am looking for. So, firstly, I would like to just start by just looking through some of the indices and stocks. Right, you have to bear with me. It's the first time I've done a video like this, so it's just gonna be probably a little bit messy. So, right, here we got the Nasdaq. I've marked this as level out here. 23,870 zone just here on the weekly chart. The reason I like this is because we're obviously in an uptrend here, although this pivot was much deeper than these two, but it looks like we've recovered since then. What I like to see with my zones is a strong, standard strong candles moving away from the zone, which we have here on the weekly. Here just below is on the daily. Yeah, so if the price action comes back here, that is a potential long for me. What else we have? I am actually got my eye on this Bitcoin, the US dollar, but the coin base, not the actual futures, which is here. I like to look at the coin base. Personally, this is what I keep an eye on. So I've actually marked out my zone here, which is roughly around the $98,000 mark. As we can see on the weekly chart, we're in an uptrend, no doubt about that. And we got here just this lovely explosive candle away from the zone, a nice indecisive candle just here, which makes up the zone. So yeah, hopefully the price will come back down here, and I will most definitely engage. And seasonally also, Bitcoin generally, for the most part, has strong Novembers, Decembers, when you factor in the 4-year business cycle. So 21, 17, November, December, generally these are strong bullish periods. So yeah, this Bitcoin zone to me looks really, really good. What else we got? This is a bit messy, this chart. This is Apple. I do, when it comes to stocks, I do prefer to actually, personally, I do like to engage when it comes to off the weekly chart. But if the zone isn't there, super nice on the weekly, I can come down to the daily, although I got that is a little bit more aggressive. So let me just see. So yes, on the daily chart, there's a nice zone here. We have like 1, 2, 3, 4 indecisive candles, and then we have explode out of that zone up to here. So I have actually marked an indication for an alert. What $248. Barring that, it would be even better if the price could come back to the So roughly the $240 mark. That would be even better. Yeah, so Apple is another one. Now this is really, to me, a Lions. This is a Euro stock. This is really good. And let me tell you why. Again, obviously, I'm going to check the weekly. We're in a nice uptrend, pivot. But it's just this candle here. This huge. This is on the weekly also. So I've marked up my zone just here. I'll just need now the price to pull back to roughly the 200 and what's that? $247 mark. Could even think about going a little bit lower. Excuse me. Now let me look on the daily. The $247 mark, $347 mark is just this zone here. Another possibility, what we could do is to try and just be patient, and hopefully if the price pulls back to this zone here. Now this is extremely strong. That was explosive right out of this zone. This giant, that would be actually a lot better. The problem with this is actually super fresh also, because as you can see, yeah, so this one here would be even better, and that is the $342 mark. One thing we could also do with this one is we could, if we felt that this zone was a little bit too big, we could simply just go down to a lower time zone, time frame chart, and we could just tighten up. We could actually, if we wanted to, bring that down to around $346 mark. No, wrong one. Yeah, we would want to bring this one down to roughly, you can bring that down to 339. Yeah, just shorten that zone up a little bit and increase our risk to reward, although we would, a little bit smaller chance of actually getting filled. Well, that's now a Lions trade. Right, where's the Amazon? Where have I marked that out? Right, I've marked this zone here. We have like a, we come into this zone, and then last week's candle, it's pretty explosive. It's engulfing. That's an explosive candle. So this is actually this zone here on the daily. Excuse me. So what I would actually do here is I will move this alert down to roughly the $214. So if it does pull back to $214, I would be looking to long this, no doubt about it. This is a really good Deutsche Bank. Now again, I always check, are we in an uptrend, which we obviously are going on the weekly. And when we come to the daily, I'd say it's been going sideways since what, July? But look at this zone right here. If we go on to the weekly, we could actually argue. I did have my eye on this zone here originally, and I missed it. I missed my alert going off. I would have probably taken this if I was at my computer at the time, but I missed it. The reason I was saying that is we've got a nice indecisive candle here, and then an explosive candle out of our zone. But since then we've actually arrived back inside, and we're not really getting much of a reaction. The explosive. But with me personally, that to me now is a dead zone. We've arrived back in, so I'm just gonna forget that. So now I have my eye on this one, which is much better. Here we have our zone, lots of indecisive candles, which is perfect. And then look at this candle here. That's absolutely exploded from that zone. That's what I'm looking for when it comes to supply and demand. So I've got the excuse me, the $26 marked out. Another one I'm really looks good to me is Netflix. Now they had an earnings and review report, which was Tuesday. It come back. It didn't come back as well as they would have hoped, which has caused this sell off here. But you know, that's not going to last for long. It's going to recover. So this is actually on sale right now. Now what I'm going to do in this one is I'm actually going to take this on the daily, just because when I'm looking here, we have a good zone just here which we've already pierced. So that to me now is gone. Now this is the one I've got my eye on. But as you can see on the daily, that is like in the middle of this explosive candle on the weekly, which I don't mind. So I will trade this actually on the daily chart. As you can see, we got a nice zone here, nice indecisive candle, and then an explosive candle right out the zone, followed by some, you know, continuation candles on the daily. So this is, I really like this one. This is set out for what, $1,062. So I really like the look of that one. I'm currently in the Ferrari trade, which is going quite well. I think this candle was this big sell-off candle. I think that was something to do with an electric Ferrari or something. They released news that they're going to release an electric powered Ferrari, and it didn't go down too well. So here on the weekly, look at this zone here, it's beautiful. Nice indecisive candle and an explosive one out. Oh yeah, that's actually gone quite well so far, fingers crossed. Also, if you look on the daily, there's a massive huge gap here, which hopefully it doesn't guarantee nothing, but hopefully once it will fill up pretty easily. There won't be much of a battle when it comes to supply zones. It would be, because we do have a candle on the weekly though, we're not guaranteed to fill that gap up with absolute ease, but you know, fingers crossed, it's still a possibility. this Pfizer one is, I really like this. The reason again, looking on the weekly, right there, this one. The issue with Pfizer is like I'm looking to long this, but if you're looking on the weekly, it's been on a little bit of a downtrend. Yeah, I don't really like going against the trend, but in this case, that it has been downtrending going back years. So, but if you look on the weekly, you got like your pivot. Whoops. So you know, downtrending, but it's this candle here exploded up. So we have like a a higher high now than the last pivot, which I would say was here. So that's the, to me, makes, maybe I'm thinking this could be the start of like an uptrend now. And also, let me just get this, like seasonally, let me just check seasonally. Like when it comes seasonally over the last 5 years, from the end of October, mid-October, this stock does tend to burst upwards, and it does perform well up until about mid-December. Now let me see, 10 years, the last 10, yeah, it's roughly the same thing. So you're looking at an upswing, an uptrend now, seasonally up until mid-December. The only thing with this one we've got to be aware of, careful about, is that there's an earning report on the 4th of November. So, you know, depending on how that news comes in, that could result in massive gaps to the upside or the downside. So that's something that you need to be aware of before placing a trade. Ideally, it would probably be best to hold back and place that trade after that earnings report. But yeah, like I said, sorry, getting sidetracked. This could be the start of a uptrend. Looking at the weekly chart, we're hoping for a bounce off this zone, come higher than this pivot just here. But when it comes to the daily, that to me looks like on the daily it is uptrending. Like you have pivot, pivot, higher, higher. So I would say that that is uptrending. You could argue that that's uptrending since April. So right now what we're looking for, hoping for, is to come back down to this zone here. Excuse me. And that will be, I've set my marker at $24. And engage. Just look at the size of the candle on the weekly, and look at these two absolutely ginormous candles. So I would expect a bit of hope for a bit of reaction from that zone there. If I were to engage, I would probably get involved at $23-24, and I would actually put my stop loss below this zone here. So what I like to do is I will mark out the zone. I would combine these two zones together, and I will go 33% lower. So whatever the size of that is, I would do 33% of that size as my stop loss extended down here. But at times I will go do that as up to as low as 15% if the zones are really big, just to increase the risk to reward, although it does increase the chance of me stopping out. But yeah, I really like this Pfizer trade. And also Walmart, like I say, uptrending on the weekly, uptrending on the daily, and this is this zone I've marked out right now. So on the weekly, that's about what, $102. But if that was to break, I'll be looking at this zone right here, which would be around $97-98. Let me just check seasonality for Walmart. Yeah, Walmart, I'm expecting Walmart to be going back 5-10 years seasonally. It does tend to go upwards now up until around the late November. So yeah, that's something I will bear in mind. The seasonality. So that's what I'm looking at when it comes to stocks. Now let's move on to the metals. Now with metals, gold's been going crazy, absolutely ripping for quite a while now. Although, just looking at this here, like there's just a simple correction. It's gonna march on upwards, or is this the beginning of maybe a little bit of a downturn? Now, when it comes to gold, like gold, commodities, metals, I do follow the COT data. Now, when I'm looking at the COT data for gold, the two things that I pay the most attention to is the non-commercials, the commercial buyers and sellers and the retail. Now, when it comes to, I just want to say also, just before I continue, is that the US government's been shut down now for a few weeks, so the COT data hasn't been updated. So we are doing this a little bit blind. But before the government did shut down, the commercial gold buyers and sellers are really, really bearish, which tends to, in many cases, they're just ahead of the curve. So they're expecting a drop downwards. And then when you look at the retailers, they're very, very bullish. And they have been for quite a while now. And when that's the case, they're going to get wrecked at some point. So what I'm thinking is maybe is this gonna, at some point soonish, I'm expecting this to come right down, and that the other metals will follow. But when it comes to the seasonality with gold, generally you would expect gold to be coming down now up until late December, I think, mid-December, which then it tends to make its move upwards again, pretty strong one also. So yeah, when it comes to metals anyway, just because the upturn is just so strong, I'm looking to actually jump on longing. Although the COT data isn't, the COT data is making me a little bit wary that this could end at some point quite soon. But for the time being, I'm just going to try and ride this wave. When it comes to gold, I've missed that zone already. I could have actually engaged in this zone here, but I missed it. So what I would do now, I'm actually looking at platinum and palladium. Excuse me. I've marked this zone out here on the weekly. Here it is on the daily, and I've actually set my alert to about $1,308. If it can come back down to that this coming week, I'm longing. For that, just the reason being that you have a nice zone here. I wouldn't say that's a decisive candle, it's pretty indecisive here on the weekly, just because we had the drawback here, but it's still quite big. There was a big reaction from that zone. Now if we look at it on the daily, it looks much better. You got look at these candles. So I would hope that if price comes back down here, we'll get a nice explosive move to the upside. Palladium is pretty much the same type of thing. We have a zone here. Look at that candle here. That's exactly what I'm looking for on the weekly. Look at that. Yeah, so nice big move to the upside and nice reaction. So with that one marked out at $1,420, call it $4. So yes, that's that. When it comes to the energies, right now I'm looking at the heat and oil. One second, sorry. Now again, like I say, we're going a bit blind with the COT data for now, but before the government shut down, looking at the COT data, I can see here that the retailers are really, really bullish. Whereas the commercial buyers and sellers are pretty bearish. So yeah, in these cases, I always want to be on the side of the commercials. Also, when it comes to seasonality, generally it's on a bit of a downturn now, seasonally, and that which what I'm seeing here, where heat and oil will fall down now and underperform up until around the 9th, 10th of December. So that's when I would expect roughly the heat and oil to stop falling in price and actually make a move to the upside. Also, yeah, I'm looking to short heat and oil. I actually missed that just there. This zone here on the daily. Look, we've got a nice indecisive candle. And then we've got an explosive candle out of the zone with a lot of follow through. I could have actually engaged. What price is that? 2000, around the 2400 mark. So I've actually missed it. Let me just go down to a lower time zone and we'll see if we can find a point of entry. Look at the 10 hours. Because what I'd like to do is, with me personally, now that this candle has penetrated that zone, it's no longer valid to me. So what I would need to do now is to just shorten the size of this zone. Oops. You can maybe do that on the 4 hour, just being, I'll start my zone here at the closest candle to the leg out, the explosive leg out. It's just touched that zone. Yeah, so I could maybe take this on the 4 hour, but I will say that I do feel like that it might not arrive back in here now for a long while. We've already touched this zone. There's been a reaction. There's a sell-off here, so that might be the last time heat and oil's in that zone for a while now. So maybe I've missed that anyway. Excuse me. When it comes to the currencies, I'm actually long right now the USD, Swiss franc. Oh, now the US dollar has been downtrending for quite a while. Like, as you can see, the euro's been trending upwards on the weekly. Like that with all the currencies against the US dollar. But looking at the COT data, that's been, it looks to me like that's been looking to turn for a while now, for the US dollar to actually show a lot more strength against the other currencies. Now, seasonally, the US dollar does tend to perform well. Oh, no, okay. Seasonally, the US dollar does tend to perform well the month of October, but it peaks around the end of October. Oh no. Going back 10 years on the seasonality, the dollar tends to, it will go, it has a strong October, November, and then mid-November it tends to drop down. It shows weakness with the other currencies, but I am willing to ignore the seasonality at times. What I'm finding is, looking at the COT data, is that to me it just looks like the dollar's going to run against the other currencies. So I just want to position myself, get in pretty early, because when a currency does run, the dollar goes on a run, or the other way around, it can really start rolling and gather some serious momentum. Now it's these time, so I believe, it's these type of trades, if you can ride them, don't get out too early, maybe trail your stops, where you can really, big gains can be made. So, excuse me. Now what I'm looking at here is the dollar. Is what I do is I go in the futures, I check the futures charts, and then if I see something I like, arriving at zones that I've marked out, then I will go into the forex charts, and then create more zones here, and then plot my entry. I hope that makes sense. So when I'm looking at dollar futures, I'm expecting the dollar to go on a nice neat little run. Now if you look at the weekly, it's been performing pretty badly since Trump got in office. Since January it's been falling, but now since July, it's just trading sideways. Personally, I believe they're going to see a nice uptrend now. Now looking on the daily, that's what I've seen also. You got the low here, the pivot, and then now we got another bang. So what I think is, this is the zone I've marked out here. We're going to come into this zone, and then we're going to take off to the upside. Now I'm looking at this candle here, that a pin bar or shooting star hanging, man. Shooting star, look at this. This is a nice type of candle I like to see. It's come down roughly into the zone, and we've got a reaction upwards. So yeah, I would say for anybody now, I would be looking at long in the dollar. Now, so what I will do now also is, I would check the dollar, which we just have, and then I check the euro. Saying that though, this dollar index here, this price action is basically versus the euro. So when you click on the euro, it's just flipped around. This is the dollar versus the euro versus the dollar. This is the dollar versus the euro. But yeah, let's see the pound. This is a zone I've marked out here on the pound. We're quite a distance away from there, so it's not something I would expect to arrive in. This is another potential entry point here with the dollar. So again, I'm just seeing like pivots, like, you know, higher low, lower low, lower low. So what I'm expecting is this to come back into this zone here now. You could even extend this zone maybe, just so you can get involved, because as I say, this can really take off. Maybe yeah, with the currencies they can really take off, and maybe you know, sometimes it's best to just get in. You know, have a little bit of a bigger zone, a little bit slightly less reward, risk to reward, but at least you're in. And yeah, so the pound looks okay there. Price can just come back into this area. What the Australian dollar? I've actually marked out here 2 zones. Like this one here is on the daily zone, and I've actually drilled down into the 4 hour, come up with this zone again. I'm willing to go to the lower time frame when I'm really desperate to get in on something. Yeah, I do feel like, you know, we get the price to rise back in this area here. You know, we could expect, hopefully, a good reaction to the downside. Just going on this candle here, nice explosive candle. So all the currencies are looking pretty similar. I've marked out zones in all of them. Again, here is a zone, explosive candle outwards. Going back here, I should probably put, this is on the Canadian dollar. Now the yen. The yen, again, same type of thing. The only problem with this here, with the yen, would be if you do arrive back in this zone, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see the price continue upwards just to fill in this gap. So if you were to actually trade this zone, your stop loss is about here, and it does decide to go up as to fill the gap, you're out of trade. So I would actually avoid this, or I would just wait. Like I've marked out an alert here. If the price does arrive in this zone here, then that's, you know, yeah, I'll be willing to potentially engage the New Zealand dollar. Oh, looks like we've already got the reaction we will from the zone I've marked out. As you can see, I've marked out this zone. Candles come upwards, pretty much touched it, and then boom, a big sell off to the downside. So that's what I'm always looking for with these zones I've marked. Reactions like that. I'm actually on the Swiss franc trade. Let me tell you why. I got in on the Swiss franc, I think it was on Monday here. It was Monday, right there. The reason I took that trade is we got a hanging man. Wait there. Sorry. This candle right here on Friday. So I had these zones marked out already, these 2. And what we got is we got the price comes into the zone, and then the reaction that I'm looking for. Sharp sell. So that's a bearish candle, very bearish. So that was enough for me. So on Monday, I look at that and I think, right, we've got a bearish candle here after coming into my zone that I pinpointed. So I'm actually in the trade. it's been a little bit up and down so far, but I think I'm in profit. Um, about what 10% up so far. So yeah, like this is the first video of its type from me. I'm gonna try and do this every week. Uh, Hopefully, as time goes by, I'll become a little bit more polished and I'll be able to explain myself, discuss it, articulate it a little bit better. But you know, you gotta start somewhere, haven't you? So anyway, peace out. Take it easy. Bye.